Hello aspirants, I welcome you all to daily newspaper analysis of Shankar IAS Academy. Today's date is 27th of January 2025. Now before looking into the list of articles, I have a certain announcement for you. It is regarding our UPSC mock interview 2024. Here you can see the interview panel. The interview is starting today and it will be held until 30th of January 2025. So if you have not registered for this particular mock interview, you can register even today and test yourself. So with this note, let us look into the list of articles that we are going to discuss today. In this first article, we'll be discussing about the climate resilience seed, and in the second article, we'll be discussing in detail about WIP system, and in the third article, we'll be discussing about the MGNREGA scheme from the prelims perspective. So without any delay, let us get into the news article discussion. Now look at this article. This article talks about Mahatma Gandhi National Rural Employment Guarantee Scheme, in short called as MGNREG scheme. Now currently it is in news because the wages that has to be paid to the workers under the particular scheme has been delayed, and that is why it is in news. So from the prelims perspective, knowing about key features and certain facts are important. Let us see them in this news article discussion. So let's start with when this particular scheme was launched. It was launched in 2005 under Ministry of Rural Development. Remember, this particular scheme, it has two components. First, to provide employment. So through providing employment, they are guaranteeing the livelihood as well as the social as well as financial security. And second important thing is to develop infrastructure. So through these two components, the most vulnerable section of the society, they get benefited, they get livelihood, as well as the infrastructure is also getting developed. So instead of just paying money to the people, they are making it a workable plan by giving indirectly employment to them. This is how this MGNREGA scheme works, and the most important significant factor that you have to remember. Now, as I said, the objective is to provide livelihood security in rural India. Then talking about the key features, this particular scheme provides 100 days of guaranteed wage employment. So certain states, like for example Odisha, they have extended this 100 days to 200 days to very specific region where there is a lot of vulnerable people. Now this is the first important key feature. Now secondly, this particular act provides legal right to work. So it is actually demand driven, which means if a person is demanding for the employment, the state is obligated to provide them with employment. If employment is not provided within 15 days, then they will be provided with an allowance, unemployment allowance. Remember this. Now the third important key feature is it brings or it focuses on rural infrastructure. So what happens is by focusing on rural infrastructure, they will be building roads, rural roads, they will be cleaning the ponds, lakes, and they will be working on canals. So ultimately these kinds of unskilled labors, they will be skilled in this particular sector, as well as building these infrastructure will aid the primary sector, which is like the agriculture primarily. So this is the third important key feature. Now the fourth important key feature is gender inclusion. So it does not only focus on vulnerable section of the population, but also focuses on gender inclusivity, because it has a clause that says at least 33% of women should be there in this particular scheme. And we have a timely wage disbursement. So within 15 days they must disperse the wages, and there is a component of transparency because the Gram Sabha, they take care of the entire functioning of this particular scheme. If you take this Gram Sabha, what they does is they inform or they decide which particular project to be focused on. They provide or they make up the list of workers, and they take care of all the facilities that has to be provided to a particular worker. So Gram Sabha, they have a very big role. They also conduct social auditing. Social auditing is nothing but the people who are participating in the scheme, they itself will be undergoing the auditing thing. So what happens is here both transparency as well as accountability is ensured. So all these will be taken care by Gram Sabha. So they play a very big role, and there is MIS to track progress. So this MIS is nothing but a portal that has been specifically maintained for this MGNREGA scheme. So under this particular portal, a particular person can develop their own profile in which they can see the number of days they are working, the upcoming projects, how much amount of money they have earned from that past working done by that person. So those kinds of things can be tracked through this MIS. So this is how the entire scheme actually works. Now moving on, we shall see about the eligibility. Say Indian citizen who is above 18 years. Remember this, UPSC might twist here. So just by blankly telling that any Indian citizen can participate in this particular work, it is wrong. Any Indian citizen who is above 18 years, they are eligible for this particular scheme. So remember this, and they must reside in the rural area, meaning the Gram Sabha should know that the person is within the working space, and they should be willing to engage in that particular unskilled labor. So these are all very important eligibility that you have to remember. Now the funding, it is done by both the central government as well as state government. When it comes to the labor cost, 100% it is borne by the central government, but when it comes to material cost, 75% is borne by the central government, and up to 6% for administration is taken care by the central government. The other remaining cost is borne by state government. Now certain states, as I said, like Odisha, certain states they have their own portal, as well as they have extended the working hours, they have provided extra facilities to the rural development itself. So now talking about the constitutional provisions, here you can see Article 41, right to work is done. Article 21, right to live with dignity is done. Article 46, upliftment of the scheduled caste and scheduled tribe is done. And Article 48A, environmental protection is done. As well as Article 16, which says employment, equality of opportunity, everything is done. So these are all important facts that you have to remember. Now I have a prelims question for you. Here two statements are given. First statement says the central government bears 100% of the expenditure on wages paid to unskilled manual workers. Now the second statement says the central government bears 40% of the material cost, while the remaining 60% is borne by state government. So here the correct answer for the question is option A, 1 only. Second statement is incorrect. Just now we saw about the material cost, right? So with these learned points, now let us move on to the next news article discussion. Now look at this article that talks about a whip system. Now currently it is in news because our Vice President has mentioned that the whip has been hindering the freedom of speech and expression of the parliamentarians, and that is why whip is in news. So today let us revise about the basics of whip system from the prelims perspective. Let's start with the origin of the whip system. See, actually this word whip is actually used in hunting. So there is a person called whipper in. So this person, they will be controlling the hounds during hunting. So just like how the whipper in controls the hounds, the whip of a parliamentary system, they will be controlling a particular party's decision. So this is what the actual origin of whip system is from. So it is evolved in England for parliamentary discipline, and that is how it has been translated into our parliamentary system as well. So in India or in any kind of a democratic country, we have whip who is actually a party's official responsible for ensuring discipline in the party. So they will be issuing directives on votings as well as attendance, which should be 100% followed by the party members. So having seen that, let us see about the history of whip system in India. So it was adopted from the British practices. So it is integral to our democratic process after the independence as well. So this will ensure the party discipline, as I said earlier. Now we shall see how whip is selected. So who can be a whip in a particular party? See, a person who is the most senior most, or who has the trust of that particular party, they will be selected as a whip. So here comes a question whether whip is actually mentioned in constitution or not. See, it is not mentioned in constitution, but it is actually a parliamentary convention. So remember this fact, it will be asked in the preliminary question. So it is not mentioned in constitution. However, they hold a very significant position when it comes to party management and discipline. So it will be that the whip will be appointed by the party leadership, and the person will be the senior most person with legislative experience, or the person who has the trust of the party. So also remember this, the chief whip will be from the ruling party, and he will be the minister of parliamentary affairs. Now moving on, let us see about the role and functions of whip. See, firstly, as I said, they will be ensuring discipline, attendance, and voting. Secondly, they will be issuing 3-line whip for crucial votes. We'll be seeing what is the 3-line whip in a minute, and then they will be advising the presiding officer. So this also will be seeing in the next slide, and they will also manage members' logistics as well as coordination among the members. Now, moving on, we shall see about the types of whips. See, the first thing is the one-liner whip. See, these whips issued by a whip is nothing but an informal kind of information. So here, when such a kind of whip is issued, like attendance is optional for the party members. Then we have a two-liner whip. In this, direct presence must be there, but they can even choose to not vote. They can abstain from voting. Now, thirdly, there comes a 3-line whip, which is a very stricter whip, and it should be attended by all the party members for sure, and the voting should be from the directive given by the whip. So this is a very important thing. Now talking about the relevance between the whip and the anti-defection law, see, we have defection. See, we have certain conditions on which a particular member of parliament can be disqualified. So it is mentioned in constitution itself. Apart from the constitution, we have the 10th schedule, in which the grounds for disqualification is actually mentioned. So in that, there is a particular line which says that violating the directive given by the party is also a ground for defection. So this is how close whip and anti-defection law is. So if a 3-liner whip is issued by a whip, and if that 3-liner whip is not properly enforced by a particular party member, then they will be attracting the disqualification. This is what I said when they will be advising the presiding officer. So this kind of disqualification will be decided by the speaker or the chairman of that particular sabha. And another important thing that you have to remember is this whip, they will be actually connecting bridge between the members of the parliament as well as the speaker or the chairman of the sabha. So these are all certain important facts that you have to remember from the whip system. Here there is two statements given. In the first statement, the whip system is explicitly mentioned in the constitution. No. The 3-liner whip is issued by a political party to direct its members to attend and vote as per the party's decision on crucial issues. So here the correct answer for the particular question is option B, 2 only. The first statement is incorrect. So with these learned points, now let us move on to the next news article discussion. Look at this article. This article states that in the financial year 2026, Union government is going to boost high-yield climate-resilient seeds. So from the prelims perspective, we have to know about two important things. Firstly, the climate-resilient seeds and what are all the positives of it. And then we'll be seeing about GEAC, that is the Genetic Engineering Appraisal Committee from the prelims perspective. So let us look into them. First, we will start with the climate resilient seed. See, climate resilient seed are nothing but the seeds that are specifically developed to provide better yield despite the changing climatic condition and extreme events like the drought as well as floods. So this kind of climate resilient hybrid seeds have certain features. For example, they are drought tolerant. That means they require very low water, as well as they can survive in dry periods as well. Secondly, they are flood resistant, as I said, which means they can even withstand water logging or submersion. And they are heat resistant. They can tolerate up to a maximum heat, and that will not affect the productivity of the crop. And they have high pest and disease resistance, which will also safeguard the crop from any kind of climate related pest or diseases. Then they have a very short growing cycle, which means the maturity cycle will be very faster, and that will avoid even unfavorable weathers. So even before reaching the unfavorable weathers, the productivity will be done. And we have a solid salinity tolerance. So even if the soil is alkaline, the crop can be able to prosper. And we have nutritional enhancement as well. So apart from making the crop durable, the process is going to make the end product even more nutritional. So that is what they tell when it comes to nutritional enrichment. So certain technologies will be used to develop these kinds of climate resilient seeds. For example, the conventional breeding. So in this conventional breeding, selective breeds will be crossed together so that the desired properties will be taken out. And we have genetic engineering, through which the genetic modification will be done, and for that we require a gene editing process, especially this CRISPR-Cas9. So this CRISPR-Cas9, what it does is, it just edits, just cut, copy and paste genes, and they actually modify the anatomy of the gene so that we can obtain the desired properties. And the use of big data and AI, for example, big data is nothing but having the data of the history of a particular crop system. So how the impact will be on the particular crop, and how it can be rectified, how long it will be there. So those kinds of big data and even AI can be used so that it will be predicting the future and help us to make informed decision. So these are all very important technologies that you have to remember. Moving on, talking about the Genetic Engineering Appraisal Committee, GEAC, it is actually a regulatory body that regulates or approves the hybrid seeds. So it is under Ministry of Environment, Forest and Climate Change, and it operates under Environment Protection Act 1986. So remember this, they might be asking this act as a question. So they might be quoting another act and they will be confusing you. So remember this. So this Genetic Engineering Appraisal Committee, we require the approval of it to use any kind of hybrid seeds. Now talking about the key functions, firstly the approval of genetically modified crops. So they will be evaluating the particular crop before releasing into the environment, and this will ensure biosafety. Now the second important thing is they regulate the genetical engineered organisms as well. So they will be overseeing the research, they will be overseeing the production, they will be overseeing the import and export of such kinds of things, and they will be taking care of the storage as well. And the third important thing is they will be monitoring the biosafety of a particular organism. So this will include assessing the risk to the human health, biodiversity as well as the environment. Finally, they will be providing clearance to any kind of hybrid or GM crops or seeds that must be introduced into our environment. Now moving on, so there are certain examples of hybrid seeds that is currently in use. Here you can see that BT cotton is something very important that you have to remember. You can quote that in UPSC mains answers as well. And here you can see certain vegetable varieties. So these are cereals and pulses, and here you can see the vegetables. So with these learned points, now let us try to solve this particular prelims question. Here two statements are given. First statement says it is a hybrid tomato developed by Indian Institute of Horticulture Research, and the second statement says it is a high yielding and resistant to tomato leaf curl virus. So here the question is asking about Arka Rakshak. So the correct answer for this particular question is option D, neither one nor two. So with this, we came to the end of the news article discussion. If you like the video, hit like, do comment, and don't forget to subscribe to Shankar IAS Academy YouTube channel. Now, thank you so much for listening.